Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Today Draft-a-thon. Man, am I excited about week one. Look at this slate of games on CBS. Steelers, Bills. Going to be a fun one there between two great offenses. Cardinals, Titans. Hopefully another fun showdown there. Jaguars, Texans, we'll see, but at least it's the debut of Trevor Lawrence. Then Dolphins, Patriots. You got the Alabama quarterback situation at play with Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones. But that game that's highlighted, Browns and Chiefs. What a rematch that should be. And hopefully a lot of fireworks and offensive productions from both sides. Joining us now on the CBS Sports Draft-a-thon is the best announcing duo in the NFL, two of the best voices, two of the best people that you could possibly have on the show, and especially on the CBS network. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo joining us here tonight. Guys, thank you for taking the time to be with us here on our St. Jude's Draft-a-thon to benefit the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And I got to just tell our audience, we're setting this up, setting up the cameras. You guys are talking fantasy football the entire time as the cameras are getting set up. You guys obviously really love this game. So, Jim, just talk about the leagues that you're in. Tony, you follow, and just talk about your love for fantasy football in the upcoming season.
Well, first off, we're in this one league jointly. So I'm in 3 leagues overall, but the one that really truly gets the most attention is the Fantasy Football for the FedEx Cup League that involves a number of our CBS colleagues and a number of players on the PGA Tour, namely Phil Mickelson, who's had a past championship in our league and should have won it last year, and guys like Justin Thomas and a few others. So most everyone has a teammate or two. There's some serious trash talk going on in this thing, and we've been right in the mix. We've just had a little heartbreak in the playoffs, but this could very well be our year. I'm kind of feeling it.
I would agree 100% with Jim. I think that obviously the other teams got lucky to beat us. Phil obviously has somehow streamlined his team to be really good every year, but I think he cheated a few times. But I think we've now corrected those situations, and so he can't do that anymore. And I think this year we're going to go ahead and just cakewalk straight to the championship.
Imagine just being, sit back and just talk trash to Phil Mickelson. This is why we have these guys on here on our Draft-a-thon and why they're the best at what they do. Guys, I know that the season's coming up, and obviously there's a lot of storylines. Tony, just with your connection to the Cowboys and obviously everything going on with Dak Prescott and his shoulder injury, and he's such a big fantasy player and one of the top 5 quarterbacks. Your impressions on, I don't know if you're following Hard Knocks or just, from your connections there with the Cowboys. Everything going to be okay with him going into the season? Any reason that we should be concerned?
No, I mean, he's just got to get, it's like any injury. You just need time to get to know yourself at that point, and you trust it, but now it's like, oh wait, this is a real game. Now it's like, it's a little faster. Everything's going to be a little bit more, it's just going to take a little time. But I think that he's a veteran. He knows how to play the game. He's got a lot of talent around him, and that helps. Now, if he had to just carry the load right away, I think then that'd be a little bit, but he's good. He knows how to play the game, and he's got a lot of players around him that are really, really, fantasy football type guys you're going to draft. So I think he'll be just fine. I would not be scared of taking him. I would take him very early.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those top 5 quarterbacks. And Jim, I want to ask you your impression on the quarterback position as a whole, because it's one of those spots in fantasy that a lot of people tend to wait on, but the top half of the group right now, Mahomes and Josh Allen and a lot of these guys, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, that group, when you guys go about, building your team, when do you look at the quarterback position? When do you approach taking those guys?
Well, that's something that we have to discuss, because one year we had an early pick, and we took A-Rod, we took Aaron early on, and it probably wasn't the right move, even though he produced his great numbers.
Yeah.
But we missed out on some really stud running backs early. So, we learned a little lesson there. We worked well as a team. We got Brant Snedeker, by the way, is in our league. He's a great trash talker. If he had any kind of partner in our league, he's with the guy, one of our directors named Chris Svensson, who doesn't help him at all. But if he had any help, he could have already he could have won the tournament. He's won the FedEx Cup. That's the name of our league, but he hasn't won the fantasy football for the FedEx Cup. Tony and I will have a serious discussion because we're in a keeper league, Jamie. We get to keep 2 players off of last year's roster, which means the draft is a little bit watered down, but Mahomes will be available I think the team that had him last year is not going to keep him because they got some other stud running backs going to keep instead. So that will be something we'll discuss. We're picking 10th overall in the first round, and I think Patrick might be there.
Yeah, I want to, if you guys don't mind, bring our audience into the conversation you guys were having. So maybe just, for a second, talk about the keeper decision that you have to make, because a lot of fantasy managers go through this, having to decide on who they're going to keep and the decisions that you have. And you guys have some tough decisions to make with the 2 keepers that you have and certainly 3 players that you're considering.
Well, I think we're pretty fortunate. So we'll try to pick up what we were doing before you started rolling here. Given the fact that we're in a PPR league and we have 2 of the top 3 rated wide receivers off of your list, Jamie, which I monitor on a regular basis. We have Davante Adams and we have Stephon Diggs. So it's kind of obvious we keep those 2, and we're pretty well set at wide receivers as long as we keep them upright. But what we're giving up, because we did build a hell of a roster last year, we're giving up the likes of Darren Waller, for example, who can give you an edge at tight end. Maybe might be the best, if not just right behind Travis. Don't mean to minimize Travis Kelce's numbers, but you could have gone with a stud there. But Tony, I think we're wondering if maybe Waller, since we put him back into the draft, he could be available 10th overall in the first round. I expect he will be, so we could still go back and get him.
I think that's a great decision, and it's a tough one, but I think Jim has played this year in, year out, and he knows it's hard with a keeper league, right? So it's like, well, we know the top 10, we know it's going to go, but as soon as you get a keeper league, all of a sudden you're like, wait, whoa, we're now on to the actual 18th, 20th, 22nd, 24th best players in a real draft. So it changes a lot. And then you have to sit and say who's in front of you in the draft and what positions do they have. So it's actually much tougher for other people who, aren't as smart as Jim. Obviously Jim's going to be ahead of the curve and have all of those details down in a written note and send it over. And then I'll just tell him, good job, Jim. I like it.
It's good to have a good partner, and certainly it's good to rely on somebody who's been doing it for a long time. Tony, I want to ask you, when did you start getting into fantasy? Was it right as soon as you got done playing? Were there any leagues that you participated in maybe when you were playing? When did the bug start to get to you?
It was Jim Nance. Literally, that was the first league I'd ever played in. It was when I got off, and he's like, "You're going to be with me if you're okay with that." And I was like, "Absolutely." And then we got in, and all the trash talking happened, and then it's been really enjoyable. Now I mean, every year I get more of a bug than the previous year. I mean, the first year was just kind of like, oh, how did we do? Blah, blah. Now I'm like, wait, what decision are we making? Oh, yeah, I like this. Well, and then Jim brings me on and does a really good job of making me like, we got to make a choice today, this quarterback or this one and everything. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't do it. So it's been really enjoyable.
He's got to lean on you for some insight from the former player's perspective, and you have to lean on him as the experienced fantasy player. So that's a good mix, yes. I'm sure, that you guys have. You got a big game coming up with the start of the season between the Chiefs and the Browns. And so, Jim, I'll start with you. What are the things you're looking for from this Chiefs offense once again, coming off another amazing campaign, rebuilt offensive line? The biggest question, I guess, would be at the running back spot, but otherwise this team looks locked and loaded to have another big offensive season and certainly can lead to a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, I think actually the biggest question mark on the offense is going to be what will that offensive line look like? As you said, rebuilt. I mean, completely rebuilt. So what will that look like? I mean, we called the Super Bowl, whatever it was, 7 months ago, and that was the story of the game. They never gave Mahomes a chance in that game to compete, and they just got dominated. So I'm anxious to see what that's going to look like. And, on the other side, you haven't asked about Cleveland yet. I trust you will, but this is a team that played them in the postseason. Tony and I were there to call the game, and there was a late fourth down throw by Chad Henne in for an injury. Patrick Mahomes on a fourth down play near midfield that, won it for him. Otherwise, Cleveland might have won that game at Arrowhead. So we've got a fabulous season, a great schedule, and it starts out in a big way with that rematch coming up on September 12th.
Yeah, Tony, if you could talk about the Browns, just, what you saw from them as they built toward that playoff run, the signs that Baker Mayfield showed of turning the corner, and now they get Odell Beckham back, coming back from the ACL injury. This looks like another team that's headed in the right direction. Do you think this could be a big year for the Browns?
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest thing they have is they have the ability to play, big boy football, and their offense and defensive lines, right? So it's like they have a guy on defense, Myles Garrett, who's going to be as disruptive as any defensive lineman in the NFL. And so you're always going to have to account for that guy, and that's a huge thing. And then on the offensive line, they did a good job of allocating resources to that the previous year, and I think you're just seeing now the other guys can flourish, and you get a good coach. Stefanski comes in. It's a great hire by Haslam. And I think they're a formidable opponent for anybody. I think you're talking about a top 5-8 team in the league for sure. And we know who the Chiefs are. And I tell you, what better opportunity if you're a Brown fan and, a player on the Browns to go out. If you knock off the Chiefs in week 1, you just told everybody, oh, wow, these guys are for real. Watch out. They're actually a Super Bowl contender. You go into Kansas City week 1 and win, I mean, they're for real. So this is a great opportunity for them. Now, the problem is this. Patrick Mahomes is going to walk out in that stadium on that field that day, and you got to go through him to win.
It certainly is going to be a fun game, and it's certainly going to be great to hear you guys calling it. And we really appreciate your time here on the Fantasy Football Today Draft-a-thon. Good luck with your fantasy league. I hope this is a successful FedEx Cup championship year for both of you. And listen, you got 2 great keepers with Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs, so it sounds like you guys are on your way.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Thanks, Jim.
And FedEx, Jamie, sponsors the golf tournament, the St. Jude Classic in Memphis. We at CBS interact very heavily with St. Jude. I love St. Jude. I love the kids of St. Jude. I think it's great. You guys are raising some incredible money and funds. There's no charity that puts its funds to better use than what St. Jude's does for the children. I'm in awe of it. So we love being a part of it, and we thank you very much.
Yes, thank you guys so much for taking some time and obviously helping out the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So we appreciate your time, and again, good luck with the upcoming season and starting off with that great game between the Browns and the Chiefs.
Thanks, Jamie. Keep us informed. I know you will. We'll be leaning on you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, pal. Yeah.
Want more of the Fantasy Football Today podcast and nonstop year-round fantasy advice? It's simple. Hit the subscribe button and hang with us all throughout the year.